We're often taught to see poverty as just a simple math problem, right? Not enough money in, not enough jobs out. And yeah, of course, that's a huge piece of the puzzle, but it's definitely not the whole story. What if the biggest walls people face aren't in their bank accounts, but actually inside their own minds? The answer to that? Well, it reveals a reality that's way more complex, and honestly, a lot more fascinating.
So, let's start with a real head-scratcher. Just think about this for a second. We've all heard those wild stories about lottery winners who just a few years later are completely broke, sometimes even worse off than before. Now, if a sudden tidal wave of cash was the magic cure for poverty, that shouldn't happen, right? It should be impossible. This one question really starts to pull back the curtain on what's truly going on.
And this is our default setting, isn't it? It's the most common belief. We see someone struggling and our first thought is, well, they just need more money. And look, it's a totally understandable assumption, but it's like looking at one piece of a giant jigsaw puzzle and thinking you've seen the whole picture.
But here's the twist. Decades of research from psychology and behavioral science all point to this really powerful conclusion. Poverty isn't just an economic state, it's a psychological one. It literally rewires how we think, how we make decisions, and how we view the future.
Okay, so our first major stop is this huge concept that explains so much of this. It's called the scarcity trap. It's this idea that the constant, nagging feeling of not having enough actually changes the way our brain works on a fundamental level.
So imagine your brain is like a computer, and it only has so much processing power, right? Well, when you are constantly, day in and day out, worried about rent or food or debt, it's like you're running this incredibly demanding app in the background at all times. All your mental energy, all your focus gets completely hijacked to solve the most urgent problem that's staring you in the face.
And the cognitive cost is absolutely staggering. I mean, researchers actually put a number on this mental strain. They found it's equivalent to losing about 13 IQ points. Now, to be super clear, this does not mean people become less intelligent. Not at all. It just means their available mental bandwidth for everything else, like long-term planning, creative problem solving, even self-control, is just drastically choked off.
This really lays it out perfectly. When you're in scarcity mode, your mind is just laser-focused on surviving today. Thinking about the future, planning for next year, it's not just hard, it feels like a luxury you literally can't afford. All your brain power is spent on putting out today's fires, leaving absolutely zero energy for planting trees for tomorrow. Having that mental bandwidth, on the other hand, is the freedom to think, to strategize, and to actually build for the future.
Okay, so the scarcity trap explains that intense mental load. But what happens when, day after day, you put in all this effort and it feels like you're getting absolutely nowhere? Well, that leads us to another really powerful psychological cycle.
This idea is just so important to understand. It's called learned helplessness. It's what happens when your brain learns a really devastating lesson, that your effort is pointless. After you've tried and failed over and over and over again, your mind basically just gives up. It concludes that trying doesn't work, so it stops, even when a real opportunity for success finally comes along.
You can almost see the tragic recipe here, can't you? First, you have repeated effort. You're trying, you're working hard, but it leads to no positive results. Then, the brain, which is always looking for patterns, draws the conclusion, my actions don't change my situation. And once that belief sets in, the motivation to even try just evaporates.
So beyond scarcity and helplessness, there's also this really powerful emotional piece to the puzzle. I mean, for most of us, making a change means taking some kind of risk, but the very nature of poverty makes risk feel impossibly dangerous.
And this is probably the most crucial point. This isn't about a lack of ambition or a fear of success. It's about making perfectly rational decisions when the stakes are incredibly high. For someone with a financial safety net, a business idea that fails is a learning experience. For someone without one, that exact same failure could mean their family goes hungry or they lose their home. The fear is real, and it makes playing it safe the only logical choice, even if that means staying stuck. And honestly, the mental hurdles just keep coming. You've got things like low financial literacy, which makes it tough to manage money well even when you do get it. And sometimes, and this is a deep one, the struggle becomes so wrapped up in a person's identity that the idea of success can feel, well, foreign and even threatening. It's a really complex web of barriers.
Okay, I know this all might sound incredibly bleak, but this is the hopeful part, and it's backed up by real evidence. These psychological patterns, they are not a life sentence. Mindsets can change, and when they do, everything else can start to follow. And we have proof. Just look at the evidence from what are called conditional cash transfer programs. When these programs simply gave people money, sure, it provided some temporary relief, but often the positive results faded over time. But, and this is the key, when they paired that same financial aid with things like mindset training, financial literacy coaching, and goal-setting support, the success rates for actually escaping poverty were way higher and much more permanent.
And let's just be absolutely crystal clear on this point. Understanding these psychological factors is not in any way about blaming people for their situation. The painful truth is that many people in poverty work incredibly hard. This is about recognizing that the system creates these deep psychological traps, and if we really want to break the cycle for good, we have to tackle both the financial and the mental side of things.
So how does that change actually happen? It's almost never one giant leap. It's a series of small intentional shifts. It's about learning things like delaying gratification, building new skills bit by bit, managing money with a real purpose, and taking small, controlled risks that you can handle. Each one of these actions helps rebuild that sense of control over your own life, and that is the foundation for lasting change.
At the end of the day, it really comes down to this one powerful idea. Money can change your circumstances. It can open a door that was locked before. But it's your mindset, your beliefs, your habits, your patterns of thinking that decides which direction you go once you step through that door. That direction is determined not just by what's in your wallet, but by what's going on in your head.